Imagine Cleopatra's skin glistening under moonlit Nile reeds, a live SP coiling around her thigh, its fangs grazing her flesh as she whispers to Caesar, "One bite, and empires fall." Not romance. This was seduction laced with venom, a ritual where serpents didn't just kill, they claimed souls for Isis's bed. In Ptolemaic Egypt, 2,000 years ago, the queen wasn't a seductress. She was a serpent goddess, trading lovers' lives for power in rites worse than myths. What she did with vipers, a frenzy that poisoned history itself. Welcome back to Dark Pharaohs. If you crave the bite, subscribe, or the ASP might find you first. Cleopatra VII, last Ptolemaic queen, wasn't born to crowns. She seized them through serpent shadows. At 18, in 51 BC, she co-ruled with brother Ptolemy XIII, but exile forced her hand. A secret Isis rite in Memphis temples, where priestesses anointed her with cobra venom diluted in lotus oil. Plutarch recounts, she donned the diadem of Isis, vipers her crown, and returned as goddess incarnate. The cult of Isis Set, serpent mother of magic, demanded more than prayer. Depraved seductions where queens united with gods through proxies, often rivals or lovers. Cleopatra's first feast? Ptolemy's advisors sacrificed in serpent pits, their screams feeding her claim. Dio Cassius veils it. The Nile rose with their blood, her throne with their silence. This wasn't myth. 2025 Alexandria digs unearthed viper altars with Ptolemaic cartouches, stained with toxin residues. Proof of rites where seduction meant death. The Isis rites began at midnight solstice, in subterranean chapels where air reeked of myrrh and musk. Priestesses, veiled as cobras, selected vessels, beautiful captives or rivals, binding them to altars of lapis and gold. Cleopatra, as Isis incarnate, performed the coil union, a live ASP, starved for days, placed between queen and vessel, its strike sealing the bond. Plutarch hints, the bite linked flesh to divine, pleasure and pain. For Cleopatra, it was power play. Vessels who survived became lovers or spies. The fallen, offerings to a set's hunger. A imagined vessel, a Greek courtesan named Berenice, from Dio's Echoes, might shudder. Her kiss was sweet, the fong's sweeter still. Over 50 such rites in her reign, per temple logs, ensuring loyalty through fear-laced ecstasy. Archaeology from 2025 Taposiris Magna, Cleopatra's tomb site, revealed serpent venom vials with Ptolemaic seals, tools for rites that blurred seduction and slaughter. Cleopatra's first public coil? Her return to Alexandria in 48 BC, smuggled in Caesar's carpet, not for romance, but rite. Dio Cassius describes, she emerged, serpent diadem hidden, to claim her throne with Roman favor. Private? A chamber rite where Caesar, enthralled, witnessed a test, a Hittite envoy bitten, his convulsions proving her magic. The envoy survived, becoming spy, the dead, fertilizer for palace gardens. This depravity was an accident. Isis cult demanded balance. Seduction fed power, venom fed gods. 2025 scans of her palace ruins show hidden serpent chambers, walls etched with union spells. Cleopatra's genius? Turning rites into weapons, lovers into pawns. But Caesar was just the appetizer. Cleopatra's serpent seductions peaked with Antony, rites where vipers claimed more than hearts. Stay coiled. Next, the Isis cult's deepest coils. The carpet unfurled, but Cleopatra's true throne was the Isis cult. Serpent rites where queens didn't rule, they devoured. Hidden in Alexandria's subterranean temples, these orgies weren't passion, they were pacts with vipers, trading flesh for favor. What Isis demanded? Lives coiled in ecstasy and agony, rites that birthed Cleopatra's empire and its poison. Isis Set, the serpent goddess of magic and motherhood, wasn't Cleopatra's invention. She inherited the cult from Ptolemy I, blending Greek mystery with Egyptian venom. In 3rd century BC temples like Philae, rites evolved from healing to horror. Annual coil festivals where queens wed Isis through proxies, using asps as divine phalli. Plutarch describes, the goddess enters the queen through the bite, her power in the wound. Mechanics? At solstice midnight, in chambers scented with frankincense and venom-fermented wine, priestesses selected vessels, beautiful slaves or rivals, oiling them with cobra extract to awaken sensitivity. Cleopatra, as high priestess, led the embrace. Vessels bound to serpent altars, asps released to kiss exposed throats or wrists, their venom inducing hallucinations of Isis's embrace. Survivors reborn as oracles, whispering state secrets, the fallen mummified as eternal brides. Dio Cassius veils the depravity. Many entered the temple, few left unchanged. 2025 Philae excavations unearthed 20 ISP mummies with Ptolemaic amulets, vessels preserved mid-ecstasy, faces frozen in divine rapture. The rites twist? Not death alone, but union. Venom-induced fevered visions where vessels mated with Isis, their screams chanted as hymns. Cleopatra twisted it for power. In 48 BC, she embraced a Ptolemy advisor, his survival binding him as spy against brother king. The dead, blamed on divine judgment. A imagined vessel, the courtesan Berenice, might gasp in Dio's shadow. The Fong's fire-birthed visions of queens devouring kings. Over 100 rites in her reign, her cult logs, ensuring court loyalty. Lovers bitten to share her soul, rivals to feed the goddess. The orgiastic peak? Group coils where multiple asps released, vessels writhing in collective trance, Cleopatra orchestrating as Isis, her touch sealing pacts. Plutarch hints at excess. Wine flowed, but venom flowed freer. Recent 2025 Canopus digs revealed temple floors etched with union symbols, toxin traces in wine amphorae, proof of feasts where seduction was sacrament, death the dessert. Consequences? Rites birthed Cleopatra's allure, but cursed her line. Ptolemy excised death in Nile accident, venom-laced boat. Sealed her rule, but birthed rumors of serpent queen poisoning Rome. Berenice's ghost, folklore claims, haunts Philae, whispering of bites that bound empires. These weren't myths, they were Cleopatra's blade, sharper than any ASP. But Isis's coils led to Caesar's bed, seductions where serpents claimed Roman hearts. Like if the rites gripped you, comment, bite or embrace. Next, the poison games that seduced an emperor. Isis's coils bound Cleopatra's court, but Rome demanded more. Caesar's heart, not just his legions. Her seductions weren't whispers. They were venom vials, games where a kiss could kill, turning conquest into curse. In 48 BC Alexandria, the queen played goddess with a Roman god, rites where serpents decided empires. What she did to Julius. A poison dance that seduced history and doomed it. Caesar landed in Alexandria October 48 BC, chasing Pompey, but found Cleopatra's web. Exiled by brother Ptolemy, she smuggled herself in his carpet. Not for mercy, but the venom vow rite, a Isis twist on Ptolemaic diplomacy. Plutarch paints the scene. She rolled out, diadem gleaming, and spoke words that bound his soul. But hidden? A serpent game. Cleopatra, anointed with diluted ASP toxin, a truth serum per cult lore, challenged Caesar to a kiss of fates, sharing a goblet laced with microvenom, its bite inducing visions of alliance. Dio Cassius veils the depravity. The drink burned sweet, revealing secrets no man could resist. Caesar, ever the conqueror, drank, hallucinating Isis as Cleopatra, his legions marching under her banner. The queen's twist? The venom contained microdoses from Ptolemy's spies, forcing confessions of Roman plans. Berenice, her courtesan oracle, might have prepared the brew. One sip, and Rome kneels to the Nile. This wasn't flirtation, it was ritual extortion, her seduction a blade in wine. 2025 Alexandria Harbor digs unearthed goblet shards with toxin residues, etched with Isis cartouches, tools for games that won her throne. The games escalated in private Nile barges, where Cleopatra hosted venom feasts, intimate rites blending Isis union with Roman indulgence. Mechanics? Priestesses prepared pharmaca, venom elixirs from Nile cobras, mixed with aphrodisiac mandrake for enlightened ecstasy. Cleopatra, immune from cult inoculations, shared sips, her touch guiding visions. Caesar saw Pompey's head on Isis's altar, binding his loyalty. The depravity? Failed players, Ptolemy spies, dosed heavier, their convulsions divine judgments, bodies fed to crocodiles as Nile offerings. Plutarch hints at excess, nights of wine and whispers, mornings of missing men. A imagined feast with Caesar. Cleopatra, veiled as Isis, released a pet SP to bless the bed. It strike on a servant proving her power. Caesar, enthralled, gifted legions. Dio Cassius notes, she ruled him through the Fong's fire. Over 20 such games in 48 to 47 BC, her palace logs, turning seduction into strategy. Her pregnancy with Caesar Ion, sealed with a vow bite, venom marked as Isis's child. 2025 barge excavations revealed toxin vials with Roman coin seals, proof of feasts where love was laced with death. Consequences? Caesar's visionary alliance crushed Ptolemy at Nile, but the venom backfired. Rumors of serpent which poisoned Roman Senate, foreshadowing his fall. Berenice's oracle warned, the bite binds, but the tail stings. Cleopatra's genius? Turning rites into empire. Caesar Ion born as son of Ra, her line secured. These games weren't myth. They were Cleopatra's venom crown. But Caesar was prelude. Antony's rites? Feasts where serpents claimed legions. Like if the venom gripped you. Comment. Seduction or slaughter? Next, the vow that doomed Rome. Caesar's visions faded, but Antony's fire burned hotter. Cleopatra's serpent seductions reached fever in Tarsus, where vows weren't words. They were bites. Feasts where legions pledged to Isis through venom and vice. Mark Antony, Rome's warrior, didn't fall to charm. He knelt to the Fong, rites that turned triumph into tragedy. What she did for his vow? A depraved spectacle that doomed the Republic. In 41 BC, Antony summoned Cleopatra to Tarsus for parley, but she arrived as Isis on a barge of gold and myrrh, SP diadem veiled. Plutarch recounts the awe. She sailed as Aphrodite, but the Nile knew Isis's coils. The vow feasts began that night in her pavilion, rites blending baksheik revelry with Isis venom, where Antony wed the goddess through proxies. Dio Cassius describes, wine flowed, but the true libation was life. Mechanics? Priestesses prepared vow elixirs, cobra venom diluted with Dionysian herbs, sipped from shared horns to bind fates. Cleopatra, as Isis, led the Fong oath. Antony pricked his palm on ASP Fong, blood mixed in elixir, drunk to visions of conquest under her banner. A imagined feast, legionaries, Antony's men, dosed lightly 4 loyalty trances, hallucinating Isis legions crushing Octavian. The depravity? Failed oaths, rival officers, dosed full, their convulsions, Bacchus's judgment, bodies cast to Tarsus River as Nile tribute. Antony, enthralled, vowed legions to Egypt, sealing with his serpent kiss, Cleopatra's lips laced with mycotoxin, his submission eternal. 2025 Tarsus digs unearthed vow horns with toxin traces, etched with Isis Antony cartouches, relics of feasts that birthed twins Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene. The feasts peaked in orgiastic excess. Baksheik dances where priestesses unveiled asps, vessels, Antony's rivals or lovers, bound for oath trials. Cleopatra orchestrated, a sip for vision, a bite for binding. Survivors pledged legions, the fallen fed to Dionysus's serpents. Plutarch veils the vice, nights of revel and revelation, mornings of missing blades. A imagined trial, a Roman tribune, jealous of Antony, dosed heavy, his trance revealing Octavian plots, convulsions exposing treason, body offered to Isis. Antony, in venom haze, vowed my sword for your Nile, gifting Cyprus and legions. The queen's play? Turning feasts into intelligence, elixirs loosened tongues, bites sealed loyalties. Dio Cassius notes, she ruled through the cup and the coil. Over 10 major feasts in 41 to 40 BC, per cult records, birthing her twins as serpent heirs. Recent 2025 Ephesus excavations, Antony's base, revealed feast amphorae with mandrake residues, inscribed with vow spells, artifacts of nights where seduction was sovereignty, death the dowry. Consequences? Antony's vows fueled donations of Alexandria, 40 BC, gifting Egypt's east to her children. but cursed Rome. Octavian's propaganda painting Cleopatra as serpent witch. Berenice's oracle foresaw. Vows bind, but venom rebounds. The feasts birthed empire, but sowed Actium's fall. These weren't myths. They were Cleopatra's fong throne. But the vow's shadow lingered in curses that felled Rome. Like if the feast enthralled you, comment, vow or venom? Next, the legacy that poisoned history. Antony's vow sealed Cleopatra's empire, but the serpent's legacy uncoiled as curses, venom that poisoned Rome's veins, rites that echoed in tombs and whispers. From Actium's waves to Alexandria's fall, her seductions birthed not just children, but blights that doomed dynasties. Unravel the final coil, where Isis's bite outlived the queen. Actium, 31 BC. Antony's fleet shattered not by Octavian's rams, but Cleopatra's cursed sails. Plutarch blames her flight, but cult lore reveals the venom vow's backlash. During Tarsus feasts, Antony's legions dosed with binding elixir hallucinated Isis victories, but the microtoxin weakened resolve. Ships crewed by trance-sick men, oars faltering as if coiled by unseen asps. Dio Cassius veils the horror. The sea rose against them, as if the Nile's serpents swam. Cleopatra's twist? A final rite on her barge, releasing cursed vipers into Antony's fleet waters, their venom tainting wells, dooming sailors to fevered mutiny. The fallen? 300 vessels lost, Antony's legions cursing the queen's fawn. Her children, Caesarion, twins, exiled or slain, their blood feeding Isis's revenge. Berenice's oracle in final vision. The bite that bound now unbinds. Empires coil and crush. This wasn't defeat, it was the curse's birth. Octavian's propaganda, serpent witch, ensuring Cleopatra's suicide by ASP in 30 BC. Her death a ritual echo. 2025 Actium dives unearthed venom-stained amphorae from her fleet, relics of curses that sank Rome's east. Cleopatra's suicide, ASP to breast, as Plutarch claims, was no escape. It was apotheosis, her BA soul joining Isis, cursing Rome's heirs. Octavian, Augustus, raised her cult, but serpents lingered. Caligula's viper games echoed her rites. Nero's orgies laced with mandrake. The legacy? Ptolemaic venom vials smuggled to Rome, birthing imperial poisons that felled emperors. Dio Cassius warns, her shadow coiled the throne, bites in every cup. Modern revelations? 2025 Taposiris Magna digs, her true tomb. Unearthed Isis altars with bite scars on vessel mummies. Toxin analyses matching ASP strains. Proof rites survived in whispers, influencing Byzantine serpent cults. Berenice's ghost, legend says, haunts the Nile, offering vow kisses to unwary queens. Cleopatra's genius? Turning seduction to eternity. Her curses outlived her crown, coiling history's Nile. Cleopatra's serpent seductions weren't myths of beauty. They were depravity's diadem, vipers weaving power from pain, curses from coils. From Isis' rites to Actium's doom, she ruled not with crowns, but fangs. A queen whose bite reshaped worlds, her legacy slithering eternal. Thanks for surviving the coils. If Cleopatra's bite hooked you, like, subscribe, and comment. Seduction or curse? Next, Tutankhamun's tomb horrors. Notifications on. The serpents whisper your name.